What's going on, guys? It's Cassius here from the Second Floor Podcast. This is where we talk about how to survive, how to thrive, and keep the good vibes going in life and in business. Today, we have a guest that I've known for many years. His name is Dunna. Dunna is a music producer, he's an entrepreneur, and he is now a YouTuber. I've known Dunna since I started making music myself. He used to create my instrumentals, my music, my songs at Resonate. Resonate is a music studio and school, the top music studio and school, I gotta say, in Edmonton. So definitely check them out. But me and Dunna had a great conversation about his journey through music production, what he's doing now with photography and videography, and the content he's creating on his YouTube channel. He is closing in currently right now at close to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. He's creating a great influence for himself and for his audience. The value he brings, he talks about video tutorials, certain gear, goes through gear review. I was super excited to kind of pick his brain about his journey, kind of where he started in music production and creating content in general. I mean, this is a guy who's done it all. For those who are interested in video production, photography, or if you're a creator yourself, I think you're gonna find a lot of value from this episode. So definitely tune in. Here we go. Dunna, thank you, man, for coming.
Man, thanks
I appreciate
for
it.
having me.
Thanks for coming on to the second floor.
Good to be here.
Yes, finally. I wanted you on the podcast for a very long time.
We've been talking about it a minute.
We have, yeah. And I kind of want to start basically way back before you kind of got into the creative space. You know, you've been doing music, you've been doing photos, you've been doing videos, you've been doing a lot. And I want to kind of take it back to where that all kind of started. How did it start for you? Where was that kind of that music bug that hit you? And then, yeah.
So, well, when I was really young, they found out that I had a really high midichlorian count and that I was going to be a Jedi.
Okay.
I don't know. The music thing hit me really early. I think a lot of it had to do with having a really great music teacher. In like, wow, I had the same music teacher from, I think it was like grade 3 all the way to grade 11, basically. She kept moving up schools. So I would miss her for like a year and I would have another teacher, but then like I'd move up to junior high school and she was the band teacher there. And then she moved up to the high school that I then moved to afterwards. So I had her for like a long time and she's just a fantastic teacher that really like put the bug in me to like love music and stuff. And I don't know if it was the same for everybody that was in my classes or whatever, but like I had a really good connection with her and that started things, as well as my mom was like always in bands and stuff too. So she played in a wedding band for, it had to be 10 or 15 years. Wow. And so I was like going to their gigs sometimes and like, you know, watching my mom sing, and she taught me Sweet Home Alabama on guitar was the first song I ever learned on guitar, and she's singing around the house, and like we always had really interesting music playing in the house. It wasn't just like whatever was popular at the time. We were listening to CKUA and stuff in Lloydminster and hearing really interesting kind of music, and so I had a really diverse upbringing as far as music goes. And Dad always joked that he couldn't play the CD player, so I don't know if any of it came from him. Although he had good taste, in my opinion, in music. He liked some cool like oldies rock and stuff, and Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass and stuff like that. So it was like, I think music was always kind of around me because of my parents, and then I think it just solidified when I had a really good experience with music. Kind of more directly as far as like growing up and going to school and learning about it that way. Yeah. So that was kind of where I guess it all started. And then in high school, I decided I wanted to be a radio personality was the goal. I wanted to go to get a communications degree or diploma or whatever and go into radio basically. And so I went to my high school, what are they called now? Like the person that helps you decide what kind of school you're going to go, like guidance counselor or whatever. Yeah. And my high school guidance counselor at the time was on the way to retirement and was like maybe not quite all there anymore, and thought that she was giving me like a pamphlet for a communications program, but instead was giving me or maybe she was doing it on purpose and I didn't know. But gave me this pamphlet for a recording school, and it really clicked for me. All of a sudden, it was like, oh, that's a thing you can do. You can record people, you can record bands and stuff. Because I'd been playing in bands all through high school and that kind of stuff, and doing the pop punk emo thing when it was a thing. Yeah. And so like I knew that I liked recording, and I knew I liked bands, and I wanted to play rock and roll and that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like I had this pamphlet in my hand that kind of made it tangible. Yeah. That made it like a thing, like, oh, I can make a living doing this. That seems insane to me. And so then I went to that school and got my recording diploma, and that was kind of the start of like a professional career in music in some way or another. Mm.
Yeah. Now, did you play a lot of instruments while you were in high school? Did you tamper around with different sounds and stuff?
Yeah, so I mean, in band class I played trombone. So starting kind of grade 5 nice. was the you going from grade 5 to 6, you go to the band room and you try out all the different instruments and try and decide, and then they just tell you what they need in the band anyway, no matter what you decided. So they needed trombone players in this specific band, and so I ended up playing trombone throughout junior high and high school. But probably around grade 9. No, it had to be earlier than that. Probably grade 7, I guess. Was when I kind of started trying to play guitar a little bit. The guitarist in my mom's band used to be the drummer, but wasn't really playing drums anymore. Yeah. And so he lent us his old drum kit. And so I had a drum kit in the basement. So I started like fiddling around with the drums and stuff. So I was playing drums and guitar a little bit. I started writing songs around the same time. And that was about when I started my first band with a couple other guys from school. We were called Echo of Sanity. Nice. I don't think anything exists on the internet because it wasn't the day and age where you could just like record yourself easily at that point. But yeah, it was, and that was kind of the start of like being a multi-instrumentalist and that kind of stuff, because I had the trombone, which never went anywhere, and then the drums and the guitar, which I still play both of really regularly, and ended up going to college for drums specifically. So, yeah.
Nice. And then that's kind of when you saw that you could do it full time. Is that correct?
Kind of, yeah. So I mean, that was like the point when I really saw that I could do it full time was when that pamphlet,
And was that grade 12?
Yeah, that would have been grade
12. Yeah, okay, cool.
Maybe end of grade 11 when they start getting you to think about that stuff. And I loved music, and I knew that I wanted to be involved in music, and so I thought that radio and being like a radio personality or whatever you want to call that, like, would be a good way to try and get a little bit of that in there. I'm still involved in music. We're playing music. I'm talking in between the music, that kind of stuff. I think partially I actually wanted to be a music director on a radio station. I didn't know what that was at the time, but I wanted to be the person who picked the music. And I had done a shadowing thing with a radio DJ in Lloydminster. And got to go to work with him and basically like hang out for a couple of days and see what it was all like. And that was like a really cool experience. And that was when I think I kind of made that decision. And then for a couple of years, that was like basically all I had on my mind. And then I got that nudge, and all of a sudden it was like, I can like actually go make music for a living. And because it was always like, it didn't seem viable to play music for a living, which now I know it can be, but it seemed more viable to pick something that was kind of like in the same arena, but not just like, I'm going to be a musician kind of thing. Right. And recording engineer seemed like it's like one level detached, but still cool and still useful for me because I could record my own stuff. Mm-hmm. So then it like kind of had this dual purpose for me.
Yeah. That's cool. And so when you kind of finished high school, did you kind of just go right into recording and getting clients and just kind of trying to make money off
I went straight to college. So I went to that college that is like a private college. They do like, they take a 2-year program and squish it into 11 months basically.
Okay, so after that 11 months, then you ended up...
Yeah. And so actually, so extending the story a little bit there. 2005, I graduate college, I graduate high school. I go like 2 months later, I'm in Ontario going to college. And I did my 1 year, my 11 months at the private college out there called OEART, the Ontario Institute of Audio Recording Technology. It's like a single program. You don't choose any of your classes. It's 60 students every year that like just kind of come and go. Like it's because it's not a multi-year thing. Everybody takes all the same classes. Everybody's in the same stuff all at the same time, which was really cool, a really cool experience. So I did that, and then every year they hire back some of the top students to be what they call interns, which are essentially like teacher's assistants. So like during the like lecture time, if you will, we would like help out with some of the classes and stuff. But our main priority was in the evenings when there was like practical time. There were all these different recording studios, and that was like lab time. We would do those. We would be supervising or teaching some. So I was an intern for a year at the school. So basically, I had 2 years in recording college, and then I came back to Alberta and I went to Grant MacEwan. For music. So I did another diploma in music with a major in drum performance. And then after that, I went back into the music program at Grant MacEwan again and did a second year to get a major in composition. Wow. So I have 3 diplomas. I have my recording, my drum, and my music composition.
Now, what led to that? Was it more so you felt like you wanted to learn those specific things and you kind of had an idea? Is that why you kept going back and getting those diplomas?
Yeah, I'm kind of like, if I could be a lifelong student, I probably would be. So after recording school, I didn't want to like hop into the cycle that a lot of recording people did, where they like went to a studio and like they were like the coffee boy until they got to be an assistant, until they got to be a mix engineer, whatever, and like work my way up the scale there. And I really had interest in writing music. So when I went to Grant MacEwan, my goal was to take the music composition major, and I really wanted to write music for video games, which I don't necessarily have the desire to do anymore. But when you're in the music program in MacEwan, the first year is common first year. Everybody takes all the same stuff, and it's just kind of like more of a general knowledge, like getting you up to a certain level in your music knowledge. And then the second year of the diploma is where you pick your major. So after my first year, I had to have like a main instrument. So before I went into Grant MacEwan, I took 6 months of drum lessons. Guitar was my main instrument, and for some reason I decided I wanted to go into drums. Yeah. So I took 6 months of drum lessons to kind of prepare me for college, basically. And then I took drums as my main instrument in my first year. And at the end of the year, I was doing well in all the like drum basic or the drum centric classes. And so the head of the drum department basically said, you should come back next year he was like, I know you want to go into composition, into that major, but I think you should come back and do the drum performance major. You'll do well in it. You'll learn a lot. And you can always come back and redo composition afterwards, where it might not be able to work the other way because the drum program is very competitive. And first years have priority going into second year over people coming back to just finish second year. So I might not ever get back into the drum program the second year if I wait and I decide later, I should have done that kind of thing. So I did my drum performance first based on, I guess, pressure from my teacher. Good pressure, but yeah. and then after I was done my drum performance, I followed through with what I was there to do, basically, which was do the music composition, which only really needed, because I already had a lot of the classes to complete a music diploma. I only really had to take like 4 or 5 classes to get my composition diploma as well.
Nice.
Which was really cool. So I got kind of like a double diploma in the same program.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, no, that's great. How did it turn into, so you finish all these diplomas.
Yeah.
You got it going.
I got all these pieces of paper.
You got all these pieces of paper. So what did you transition into afterwards? Was it Resonate? Did Resonate come into the mix? I know obviously you and Mike have had a long relationship. You guys have been friends for a very long time. the idea of Resonate come in, or was this a couple years afterwards? Kind of tell me what happened after you finished school.
Yeah, so after Grant MacEwan, and actually while I was in my my final year in the composition diploma, I started teaching, because that's like a viable way to for musicians to kind of make money while they're trying to pursue music, is to teach music lessons. And so I was teaching out of this school in St. Albert, and that was actually where I met Mike. But yeah, so I was teaching during that year, and kind of working in the store that was attached to the school and stuff. And they also had a recording studio, so I was running their recording studio. So I was doing all sorts of things up at this one place. And in the recording studio, I can't remember if it was while I was in my final year, if it was afterwards, but while I was in the recording studio, I was running like a digital music production course, and Mike came in to take it. And Mike being my business partner at Resonate, obviously, being the business brain, we got like 2 lessons in, and he started getting clients. So he had this like trio of singers that he was recording out of his little basement studio at home. And he came in like for the 3rd lesson or whatever, and he's like, hey, I've got these girls that I'm recording, but all we've gotten to is like turning up the microphone. I need you to like mix them for me. So he wanted to like bring them in, charge them to record, and then basically outsource the mixing to me. And so we kind of started to have this back and forth that way, and just seemed to work really well together. And it was kind of at that point that we started talking as friends and whatever, like about music schools and that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was kind of there where it sparked. And then when I left there, I was teaching at another place, and we started doing a recording company together.
Was that Coffee?
That was Coffee Productions. Yeah.
Yes, I remember
the basement.
that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
So I had a townhouse with a basement, so we had a little studio there, and then Mike also had his little spot, and so he would record people, and generally I think I mixed most of the projects. Mm-hmm. But and we had always, just in the back of our heads, we were always like, if it ever makes sense, yeah, well, it would be cool to do a school, like, that's something that would be a fun business to run and that kind of stuff, and it could have a studio in it, and eventually just like it kind of kept building and building. And I think Mike was still working in the car industry. He was working, doing stuff with cars. So I don't know exactly what he was doing, but yeah. And just like there was a point where he kind of said, okay, it's now or never. Like, we're going to start looking for spaces. Like, if you're in, that's great. Both myself and my wife. So Megan, my wife, had a pile of like manager experience. She was manager at Starbucks, and had actually, when I was working at the school that I met Mike at, she was kind of managing their school as well. So she had experience doing that. So it was kind of this trio when we started Resonate. And so Mike kind of just said, like, it's now or never. Like, I'm ready to do this. Like, can you guys make this happen? So Megan was the manager of the school. Mike was kind of the general manager, business guy, and then I managed the studio. And we had this perfect little triangle of the 3 kind of departments and stuff. And that's the birth of Resonate, I guess.
Yeah, and how was that decision for you? Like, how did that kind of play in your head? Did it, obviously, that's a huge leap for anyone. You're trying to build your life. You're trying to, everyone has bills to pay. And so how did that process look like? Was it a quick yes? Like, yes, I've been wanting to take the leap and I just needed, the right people around me? Or was it something that you and Megan and Mike had to really sit down and kind of go through? And was it a long process? How was it for you? Because I know how it was for Mike, but how was it for you?
It was tough. I had just actually started an online business diploma, or a business degree, I should say, as well. So I ended up
still learning.
I wanted to. I knew that it was a possibility. It's something that, like I said, like me and Mike had been throwing around forever, and we still had Coffee Productions going at the time. Yeah. So it was something that, like, I wanted to learn more about business, and I wanted to, like, be able to kind of take on more of that. Because Mike is very much like a self-starter in that capacity, and he'll go read books and stuff. But I need kind of the structure of school to really get me to do things like that, or specific things anyway. Some things I'm a self-starter on, but like with business, it was like I want to learn, but I don't know where to start and that kind of thing. So I started taking this business degree, got like a student loan and all those kinds of things. And then sure enough, a couple months later, Mike was like, hey, now or never, like we're going to do this. Like, are you guys in?
And how old were you at this point?
I'm 32 now, and it was 7.5 years ago. So
okay, yeah,
20 something.
Yeah, you were young.
Yeah, 25,
yeah.
24, something like that. Yeah. Like my math is not working right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was, and I don't know if it was a quick decision or if it was a slow one. Obviously there was a lot of talk about it. Like Megan and I had jobs that were like reasonably paying. Neither of us were really like stoked on them. So it was like, as far as like going to do something else, I think we were both excited, but obviously you got to think about like, anytime you're starting up a business like that, like I think the conversation went something like, how much can you reasonably live off of? That's going to be your salary, basically. Like, we needed to know that there was some kind of security, but it was going to have to be like, put whatever you can into the business. And we did for a bunch of years. Megan worked there for about 3 years before she decided to go do some other stuff. So but it happened quickly. I don't know. That's just kind of the way that I think the Resonate has always happened, though. Every time we make a decision, it's like it goes from being an idea to being a reality very quickly.
Yeah. And how much are you involved, I guess now, because obviously you're interested in business, and you obviously are an entrepreneur. How much has the business side, how much are you interested in the business side of things? Or do you kind of take, and I know you said that you take care of the recordings and whatnot, but how much of that have you learned just based off experience versus the stuff that you've actually read?
I probably, as far as like the business side of Resonate, I'm probably involved about 1%. Like I have very little involvement in that. Like my main job is just like to be kind of the manager of the studio, and that's evolved over the years. Like I think at first it was very much a collaborative effort between Mike and Megan and myself to kind of help each other in all of our roles. And then eventually what happened is that each of those roles became more specialized and became busy enough that like each of us needed to be focusing on our own thing. And so then, we kind of each stepped into those kinds of roles. Obviously there are some business parts of managing the studio, but on the grand scheme of what I see as the like business stuff, most of that is handled by Mike. And that was always kind of the arrangement. It was like, like I said, Megan manages the school, I manage the studio, Mike is the business brain, the general manager. Manager and president.
Official name.
Yeah, official. I think that's what it said on his business card when we started up.
Yeah, no, that's great. How have you managed your creative side over the process of since when you started?
Not well. Yeah? Well, no, it's tough. And I know that you and I have talked about this before, referring to specifically like my videography and photography, is that when after 5 years of being in the studio and answering to the clients that come in and that kind of stuff, I basically like stopped making my own music, because at the end of a 9 to 12 hour day in the studio, the last thing I wanted to do was
go back in the
studio and do more of my music. And I didn't really have a good space at home to do that, nor was I like inspired to do it, kind of thing. And there are definitely projects within the studio that are really creatively fulfilling, but there are also a number of ones where I'm kind of just, I don't want to say like going through the motion, because it's like you can't really do that and get away with it. Like people see through that, so you have to like, but you're almost like forcing yourself to be creative, and that's like extremely tiring after a while, and it makes it so that you don't necessarily want to do more of it. It's not that I'm unhappy with the amount of it that I'm doing for work, but it doesn't necessarily make me want to like like I said, add those extra couple of hours of like creativity for me. Every once in a while, something would happen. Most of the time, like if I'm having a rough week, it would like make me want to like let something out in a creative way in the studio. But for the most part, I was kind of slightly pursuing like a bit of a solo thing where I was trying to make my own music for a while, and I released a couple of songs, and then it just kind of tailed off. I couldn't keep my own interest in it up. Mostly because it felt like work. It felt like an extension of my job, not so much like my own thing. So yeah, creativity in that sense was tough until I found something else to do, basically. Something else that doesn't feel necessarily like an extension of my job kind of thing.
Yeah, and so how did you find that? I know you're super heavy into photography and videography, and you've been building your YouTube channel, obviously, which we'll get into a little bit later. But how did you decide to, where did the idea of just, picking up the camera and then going through, and how did you find that passion for photos and video?
Yeah.
Where did that come in?
Honestly, I think it kind of started with, I think I just started editing my iPhone photos. Like just like even within Instagram, like using the editing features, which are more powerful than people know. But like instead of just snap a picture and post it, it was snap a picture, take some time and finesse it so that it looked nice. And then you start to realize the limitations that come with that. Or I started looking up tutorials on like how to make that even better. It's like I always like I'm a like I said, I like to learn, and so I always want to like make things a little bit better if I can, and that was just one of those things where I wanted to get a little bit better at making my photos look nice. And then, of course, you run into YouTubers or whatever who are good at what they do, and they're saying, well, I get this because I have this camera, and if you want to get this look, you're going to need this kind of dynamic range, which you can't get with the phone. So then, and so then Megan and I were going to Mexico for Christmas to visit my family out there, and I was like, well, it would be cool to have like a camera, like a real camera with a sensor in it that like is bigger than a ant. Yeah. And so I wanted to have a decent camera that I could kind of capture the moments on our holiday. So I went out and picked up a reasonably priced camera and took it out there. And
what was your first camera?
The one that I took on that holiday was a Sony A5100.
5100.
Yeah. And I bought it at Best Buy. Yeah. And I didn't know that you had to keep the sensor clean. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know you could like get it dirty or whatever. So I had like a couple of lenses, and I was like switching lenses, but like being very haphazard about it, and like just like, and I'm in Mexico and it's dusty and like all that kind of stuff. And I got some of my photos, and there were like spots all over them. And I didn't know what that was at the time. And then I found out. I found out after. Yeah, well, and the funny part is that I didn't find out until I got back from Mexico and returned the camera, because I was like, "There's something wrong with this camera. It's got spots all over the pictures." And it was Best Buy, so they didn't know any better. They don't have like a real photo department person. So they took the camera back, and I was just like, "Can you give me another one?" And they're like, "We don't have any of these." So then I actually got a Sony A6000, which at the time was the same price. It's like a little bit more of a photo camera. The 5100 had a flip-up screen, but no mic input. Actually, the 6000 doesn't have a mic input either, but it had a little bit more control and that kind of stuff, but no flip-up screen. So, and I was also trying to kind of vlog a little bit, and like I wanted to try and do a Mexico vlog while I was there, because I had just started getting into vloggers and that kind of thing. So I didn't end up actually making anything out of that trip. All the photos went out to the family and stuff. But
nice.
But yeah, so that was kind of the first foray into that, and then it just kept building, and I found out I wanted to do a YouTube channel and started to do more kind of vlog based content.
So when did that start, the YouTube channel? What year?
It was 2.5 years ago, something like that. 2006 2017, I guess, early 2017.
Okay, so
because I got the camera. Yeah, I got the camera December 2016, I believe. Yeah, so then I started the channel and threw up. I think one of my first videos was like me shaving, and it was like because I use a safety razor, which is like the old school style where it's like just the single blade in there.
Okay.
And so it's like there are a bunch of channels on YouTube dedicated to this style of shaving, which is like super weird just watching people shaving. But and they're like, and it's kind of fun too. There was this one guy, his channel name is Lennon Sinatra, and he just like, he has a camera right in front of him, and he just like, he shaves and he talks. And he's a voiceover actor, so he's got a really nice voice. And but he just like sits there and shaves. And at the start of his videos, he'll be like, "Hey, we're using this razor today." Like he's got like a collection of these vintage razors that he uses, and he's like, "And you know, this company sent me this this type of shaving soap, so we're gonna try that today and see how it foams up or whatever, you know, like that kind of stuff." So there's like a little bit talking about the process, and then he just mostly babbled about his day. And I was like super intrigued by that. So the video that I made was more of a like time lapse. It was I got a suction cup thing and I stuck my camera up on the mirror of this bathroom and did the whole shaving thing, and then just like would put text up on the side of the screen saying what I was doing, like what the process is, because it's a little bit different than just like shaving with a kind of a Gillette razor. Well, I guess Gillette they made those old ones too, but your kind of more typical disposable razor anyway, it's a little bit different because you do like 3 passes and that kind of stuff. And so I did like a little, it was supposed to be like informational or whatever, but like a nice quick video on that. Cool. And that was like one of the first ones that I posted, and then some vlogging stuff and, you know, me going to the gym and me going to work and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, so this was kind of, at this time, it was kind of just whatever kind of was kind of fun. And
whatever was happening in my day, that was what I was capturing. Yeah. So it wasn't really informational or anything. And then, I just kind of got nerdier, basically. I started catching myself talking about my camera gear and stuff in my videos. And then that just kind of started to expand into like, well, maybe I should do a review on this lens since I'm talking about it anyway. Like maybe I should do a whole video dedicated to it. And, I tried reviewing like earbuds, like more kind of like just tech, not specifically to cameras. But I didn't really like that as much. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel sustainable anyway for me, like as far as my interests go. So.
And did you find yourself spending more and more time in doing like creating photos and videos and kind of nerding out on just how do I get better this or this effect or that effect, or how did it, like, was there a point where it started spiraling, like where you just caught yourself being like, oh, I'm spending my evenings and weekends learning or going out and shooting?
Yeah. I mean, probably even before I started the channel, I started getting really like, you know, we're in bed getting ready to go to sleep, and you know, you look at your phone for a little bit and I'm watching tutorials and I'm learning about the gear and even stuff that I is like way above my ability level. I'm taking it all in because I know it'll be useful later, and just like immersing myself in the YouTube photography, videography community. So it felt very second nature when that eventually happened. And just shooting a lot, and a lot of it was based around and still is based around the YouTube channel. Like I don't often just like go shooting for the sake of going shooting. Like it usually has like some kind of purpose, and then that works its way back into the YouTube channel or was for the YouTube channel to start with. But on the rare occasion that I get some time off or whatever, and Megan and I go down to Banff or something, of course I'm gonna take the camera and get as many beautiful mountain shots as I can and that kind of stuff. So, and like for holidays and stuff like that, it's nice to do. It's a little tough to find a balance of like, am I working or am I on vacation? But yeah, no, that's kind of the place that got me moving in that direction was just like the whole YouTube community. And it's a really massive community. And like, you know, like some of the bigger channels, even in that niche, have millions and millions of subscribers. So to think that like nobody has all of the people who watch those videos as their subscribers. So to think you see someone with 2 or 3 million subscribers, and to think that they're only really just the tip of the iceberg, like it's a way bigger community than you'd think it would be.
And does photography and videos, do they give you the same fulfillment as kind of what music was to you back when you were making music for yourself? Or is it a different kind of, I guess, does it give you the same joy as creating, you know, a song from scratch for yourself or for one of your clients, or, you know, when you're starting something from scratch? You know, for me, I've always felt, you know, doing video, that, you know, creating something from nothing has always given me that fulfillment. So, I mean, for you, how is that, especially with the music side of things, and then now you're into videos and photos, does it give you the same fulfillment, or is it a different kind of feel?
It's funny. It almost sometimes feels like it's less about creating and more about learning for me. And this, I guess, goes back to like kind of what we were talking about before with my 3 fancy pieces of paper, and how I just continually hopped from diploma to diploma. Is like, it's almost as much about the troubleshooting and the learning process for me as it is about the actual outcome. Because as soon as like I finish something, like, yay, there's like that moment of like, hey, this is cool, but then it's always like, okay, what's next? You know? And so, and I think that this part of my life, the video and photo stuff, gives me that same thing that music did in that sense, where it was like I was always wanting to learn and to move forward with it and that kind of thing. But there's like, I'm a baby again. I'm fresh with it, and I feel like I don't know anything. Obviously now, like 2.5 years in of like doing this stuff, I do know some things, and I teach them on my channel, so hopefully I'm teaching them right. But I feel like there's still so much to learn. Whereas like at this point, I've been doing audio for 15 years or so. So it's like, not to say that there's nothing I have to learn. Like there's still lots to learn there, but there is something fulfilling about being so new to something that like you have to learn. You have everything to learn. You don't even know what you don't know yet, you know, like that kind of thing. And so I think that's part of the fulfillment that I get out of the video and photo stuff right now, is like that kind of troubleshooting and figuring things out as I go, and learning from just like YouTube, and like in an informal kind of way is a lot of fun too, because you have to be very careful, because I'll go and watch, let's say, like 5 or 6 different YouTube tutorials on the same thing, and they might be all saying something different. And so then it's up to me to take all that information and go test it and find out what works best for me and what I think is the actual way that people should be doing it. And sometimes that ends up in me making a video about it, because I feel like, you know, I figured out the way that works best for me. I should pass this information on. And that's really what my channel is. And I don't necessarily talk about it a whole lot, but it's usually like, I found out something cool, let me pass that on to you. And I get lots of comments and stuff from people that obviously assume that that's what I do full time, and that I've probably been a filmmaker for years and years, and that I'm making all sorts of different kinds of films and stuff like that, when really it's just like I'm learning too. And I think that's why people connect with me, is because they're in the same process as me, and maybe they can tell, or they do or don't know or whatever, but it's really just like passing on things as I learn them.
Yeah, very, very cool. And I want to ask you this, because I know, especially for a lot of creators, we sometimes can tend to get in our own way. You know, and especially with the idea of perfection, especially when you're creating something, whether it's music, whether it's photos, whether it's video. I know for me, when I first started, it took me a little bit of time to be okay with releasing the things that I'm releasing in the world, to the world and to the YouTube community, or to my friends and family online, For you, how has that process been like? Were you always kind of like, okay, I'm going to learn this and I'm going to post it and I don't really care about, you know, the judgment or the criticism or the praise? Or did you have to kind of build your way up to that to be like, okay, I know this isn't perfect, but I'm going to release it anyways?
There's lots of content on YouTube in this community that talks about that. And so I think early on I found listening to that stuff is like that kind of like just start mentality. And upload those first couple of videos, and if they're crap, they're crap, and you can delete them later if you really want to, or you can leave them up and that kind of thing. So I never really had that much of a problem. I don't think I'm really like I don't think I worry too much about what people think. I do, but I don't at the same time. Like those first couple of videos, I don't think I really had a huge issue with being really candid on camera and saying like, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I hope you enjoy this. Like, I'm going to just go for it and I don't really care kind of thing. And posting it, I do always suggest to people to make a couple of videos before you post them, but I didn't follow my own advice. I posted, I think the first, you know what? I might've made one that I scrapped or that like I got through the full editing process and was kind of like, okay, that didn't turn out how I wanted it to. Time to do episode 1 kind of thing. Like now I know what I want. Let's move on kind of thing. And then I posted that one. So maybe I kind of took my own advice, but yeah, it's, I still like, every once in a while, some of the comments will get to me. And I just argue with people in the comments a little bit, which I probably shouldn't do. But for the most part, like, I'm not really too worried about it. I think part of that comes from the fact that if I quit YouTube tomorrow, it's not like I'm not depending on it for anything really. All of a sudden I would just have free time again, which would be nice. But like, you know, like I've got a stable job, I've got a great marriage, I've got, you know, it's just like it's a hobby that also kind of has turned into kind of a job. You know, but like really nothing is relying on me making a YouTube video once a week. So there's very little pressure on it. All of the pressure is internal, which is good. I like that. And my wife jokes that I seem stressed all the time and that I love it. And, you know, and so that all of that pressure is all just internal, which really gives me the freedom to kind of take it on with ease. To some extent. It's really just like, again, about learning and about the process of troubleshooting, and sometimes it's more stressful than others. And it was funny yesterday, I was having trouble with a video and getting to where I needed to go and that kind of stuff. And I said to Megan, I said, right now I'm stressed, but it's fun stress. And then I went out and tried to shoot the video and everything went wrong, and I lost all the light and I was too cold and I couldn't finish it. It was like nothing was good. So I just wasted a couple hours of my life, and I came home and was like trying to like salvage what I could, because it's like it's a sponsored video, so I have to get it up in time, and one of the lenses that I'm reviewing is a borrowed lens, so I have to send it back and all that kind of stuff. So I am on a bit of a deadline for this one. And when I got home, I'm like, okay, now I'm not in stress fun mode. Now I'm just in stress mode. So it does have the ability to change on me, but for the most part, it's pretty low pressure, and I don't stress too much about what people think about it. Beyond just like playing the YouTube game kind of thing, and trying to like, obviously I'm trying to grow and you know, gain exposure and a bigger audience and that kind of stuff. But
absolutely, and I mean, obviously from what I've seen, you're growing quite well on YouTube, and you've grown a pretty big following, and obviously it's still growing, which is amazing. How has your process changed in any way over the years of just creating? You know, for me, I've tend to see myself, when I'm creating now, I have more stricter, I guess, deadlines, things that I need to do on certain days at certain times, especially with the podcast, and before, when I started with the creative stuff, it was very more open and fluid, and whenever kind of motivation and inspiration kind of hit, I'd kind of do it. But for you now, kind of uploading on a weekly basis and posting a lot of content, has your process changed? What kind of process do you kind of go into when you're creating so much content?
It's changed a little bit, but mostly just to try to improve efficiency. Mostly, I right off the bat, knowing myself really well, I knew I needed to have some kind of a structure to it. So I said once a week. That's going to be Monday, 6:30 a.m., and that hasn't changed since my first video. And so I knew I needed that, but as far as like the actual process of like when I shoot things and how I shoot things, that's changed a bunch throughout. I mean, first of all, different types of content. So like when it was the more vlog stuff, it wasn't planned at all. Like sometimes I would kind of come up with a concept based on like what I thought I was doing that day. But other than that, it was basically up to what happened that day, and I just happened to have the camera there. So there was very little organization needed, really, other than like throughout whatever we're going to do today, I'm going to talk about, I don't know, pick a concept and try and be motivational or whatever. Like that's kind of where it started. And then when it started to get more into teaching and tutorials and reviews and that kind of stuff, then I started to like structure it a little bit more. And then it came down to like, okay, I need to shoot a talking head part and then B-roll and this and this and this. Where does that fit into my busy schedule? Keeping my weekends with Megan has been very important to me. Both set up boundaries for Resonate and for my YouTube stuff. So my Resonate and YouTube stuff happens in 5 days a week, and then I have 2 days with Megan, which is probably the most important boundary that I've set. And so that kind of dictates the structure a little bit because I really only have so much time. It used to be that I would get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I would do most of my work between like 5 and 8 before Megan got up. And then I would have that for 5 days a week. So it ended up being like 3 hours a day. And then I would find somewhere in there to film, you know, whatever that would happen to be. Not usually while she was sleeping, because we live in a small apartment and that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
What is up, YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That'd be the worst way to wake up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and then it's kind of evolved now. And because my job with Resonate has evolved too, and I'm doing video and photo work for Resonate. So I've shifted my schedule a little bit, and now for the most part, I have like 1 day a week where I shoot one video kind of thing, which has its pros and cons. It's hard because sometimes that one day, like if you're like, oh, I'm going to do something on time lapsing, or I'm going to do a video about shooting against the sun, and then you go outside and it's cloudy. Yeah. Like you got to come up with a new concept real quick because you've only got that 1 day a week to shoot. Yeah. But it also allows me to focus a little bit more on that one day instead of trying to spread things out. Because when you shoot something and you don't get to edit it for like 4 days, and you're like, what did I shoot? And like, did I have a clip of this, or maybe I forgot to shoot that, and you don't remember what happened and everything. Yeah. It's nice to like shoot and then like edit immediately afterwards. Yeah. You know? And then sometimes I sneak in a couple of hours of editing on Saturday and Sunday mornings before Megan wakes up. But
yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I can totally resonate with what you're saying. Yeah. And I'm gonna ask you this, because as a videographer, I've been doing it for a number of years now, and working on so many different projects. I have a goal to continue learning like you, and hopefully one day possibly either work in bigger budget projects, do things that are completely out of my realm, and just be around other creators and learn from them, but also kind of work on something that's a lot bigger than stuff that I'm working on right now. So for you, obviously, with what you're doing is kind of your own thing, doing what you need to do to kind of learn and kind of expand your horizons on certain topics and subjects and technical stuff. But would you ever want to work in like in a bigger budget production, or work with like a number of creators on like a big thing? Yeah. Is that something that you've ever thought about?
I don't know. Yeah, it definitely is something that I've thought about. I still don't really know what the answer is, though. Like, you know, a lot of people who get into the YouTube video photo thing, they get into it because that's what they're pursuing, and that is the kind of the same way that teaching music was to being a musician.
Yes.
It's like it's a viable thing that I can do right now, you know, that potentially can make me a little bit of money or keep me busy and keep me practicing or whatever it happens to be. And so I think a lot of people get into it that way, but I kind of got into it the opposite way. Like, I got into it just to do YouTube. Mm-hmm. And so then there's the question comes up is like, okay, well then does this expand? Do I want to take on commercial work, or do I want to do do I ever want to get into feature films or documentaries or that kind of stuff? And it's at this point I can't even fathom taking on anymore. Yeah, you know, it would be the kind of thing where something else would have to give. Mm-hmm. Either I'd have to take a little bit of time away from Resonate, or I'd have to, you know, give up the YouTube thing for a while to make that a reality. So at this point, you know, I have a decent amount of people asking me if they want, or if I can do X project. And generally I just say no, because there is no time left in the calendar, basically. Yeah. And as far as whether I really ever want to, I don't know. I feel like I want to do more kind of cinematic stuff on my YouTube channel, and not so strictly, lately especially, it's been very strictly gear and teaching and tutorials and those kinds of things. And that's cool, but it has gotten to a point where, like I said before, like the only reason that I go out shooting is just for the YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And it feels creative, and it's fun to go through the whole process of coming up with a concept and writing out a script or a bullet points or whatever it is, and then deciding on the shots and putting the whole edit together and stuff like that. But I would like to expand that a little bit, but I still think it would be within the confines of my YouTube channel, and that kind of like self-directed kind of work. It would just be kind of a different genre, rather than like, you know, being a DP on somebody else's project. That's and like, or being like an AC or something like that, and just pulling focus. Like,
yeah, I was curious about that. I was curious just to see if that realm of big production was something that maybe, you know, piqued your interest.
Yeah, it does. Like, I would love to be a fly on the wall a little bit, maybe, or just like kind of get thrown into that for one project. Yeah. You know, like with no commitment needed to try and turn it into anything. Like, I feel like if somebody asked me to come and do something like that on a bigger project, that would be a lot of fun, but also really stressful. Like that's
at the same time.
That's what I do at work. You know?
Yeah, of course.
I have somebody else who's paying me to, you know, like the clients who are paying me to do this specific job and that kind of thing. So that would be like an extension of that. Whereas with YouTube, I make whatever video I want, whenever I want. The only boundaries that I have, I put on myself. Yeah. And if I'm not feeling up to it, I don't make a video that week, and there's nobody to answer to. Yeah. You know, Susan from YouTube isn't calling me being like, "Hey, Dunna, where was your video this Monday?"
Hey, I didn't see you. Yeah, exactly.
The platform is dying without you. Yeah. You know, like there's no pressure, and I think that's really one of the reasons why I've held on as long as I have to YouTube, is because it's still fun because there's no pressure. It's like going and playing a game of pickup with the boys. Like, it's really no different than that. Once a week I do my thing and I have some fun doing it, and you know, it's a challenge and I learn a lot, and I get to connect with the community. It is really my sense of community now, because I don't get out much and I kind of like it that way. Yeah. But I have a really strong sense of community from this whole thing, and I've made lots of friends along the way, and most of them online, and then I got to meet some of them in person here and there, and
Yeah, and you went on a trip recently, right? With was it a Sony camp, right?
Sony camera camp. Yeah, that was fun, and I got to meet a lot of the people that I've connected with online through that, like people who are in the same process or at the same level or have been doing it a similar amount of time, and then people who I looked up to when I first started and still look up to, and you know, and then even some people who look up to me, and like that was a really cool experience to get to do that.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. What would you say to the creator who's trying to figure out what kind of content they want to make, and you know, they dabble in the videos, they want to do videos?
This is a personal question?
No, I used to be like that.
Yeah.
I used to not know. I used to do a lot of experimentation. Yeah. You know, I used to do vlogs, same thing, vlogs. I did pranks when it came comedic skits, all private, by the way.
You can't find any of these online
because they're really, really bad. But I remember going through that process a lot because I loved creating, and I didn't have that structure. Yeah. You know, and so for that creator who's maybe A, looking for structure, B, trying to kind of find their way in trying to create videos, or even photos in that matter, what would you say to them? What's worked for you, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, what's worked for me is basically just following what I would want to talk about. You know, there are kind of two ways that I look at it. I make content for me. Well, because I am, and when I look at my like analytics and I look at my demographic, the people who watch my video, it's basically me. It's like 85% men between 20 and 35. Like it's basically just me. Yeah. You know, so it's like making the videos for yourself, pretending you're the audience kind of thing has two benefits. First of all, you're going to be interested in it. So you're not trying to make something for somebody else. Like, let's say you wanted to make, I don't know, knitting videos or something. You'd like, knitting videos are where it's at. I'm going to make videos for grannies, you know, that kind of thing. And so you start making knitting videos, but you're not really into knitting. You just thought it would be a good idea. Like, you're going to burn out on that pretty quick because you're not actually interested in it. So by making videos for yourself as the audience, of course you're going to stay interested in that for as long as you're interested in it. And you can always change on these platforms too. You can always shift if it stops being interesting to you. And then the other thing too, is to, like, I would say, just like, if you were to sit down and talk with somebody for half an hour and just like babble, where does your conversation go? What do you want to talk about? And that's like a really great way to kind of determine, and also not to put too much pressure on yourself to figure that out right away. Like I said, my channel started as vlogs, and it was like just my kind of daily life and that kind of stuff. And then the camera stuff started to really just like seep into it. And then it was kind of it was a slow transition, but there was kind of a light bulb moment when it was like, oh, I should like make more of an effort to like do the camera stuff because I really like that. So, I mean, the experimentation, the stuff that you were doing and the stuff that I did with the vlogs, like, I feel like that's exactly what people should do. And I feel like, especially right off the hop, like, don't get too hung up on like finding a niche or a specific genre
or the numbers
right? Yeah, like
yeah.
The nice thing about your first video is that nobody knows who you are yet. So if you totally mess it up, probably nobody's watching.
Yeah.
You know, you've got that, you know, you're going to get maybe your friends and family or something like that. And that's of course what makes it so stressful. But if you're worried about that, don't tell them.
Yeah.
Just upload a video, and then random people on the internet might see it.
Yeah.
You know, YouTube might feed it to somebody who just hopped on, kind of thing. And you don't really have to worry about it too much. You get that kind of grace period before anybody knows you to experiment. Mm-hmm. And then by the time that you've figured out what you want to do with it, that's, for me anyway, that was about the same point that my audience started to grow too. It was like it kind of gradually did this, and then those were the people that wanted to watch my content, and then it starts to go back out again.
Yeah, very interesting. And I feel like a lot of, especially nowadays with just there's so many platforms, right? There's so many things so many different types of content that you can create. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people try to spread themselves too thin. Yeah. They're trying to be on every platform because, you're supposed to be on every platform, right? And you're supposed to make content for every platform. But I feel like, for me, I feel like as a creator, I feel like that's stupid pressure to try to create native, specific content for each platform. But number two, it almost feels like it's like a duty of yours now. All of a sudden that you have to drop content on each platform. Yeah. And I mean, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about because you're obviously making specific content for YouTube, but for creators out there, what would you say to those people that? I
think personally, I feel like you should go on the platforms that you actually like. Mm-hmm. I stopped using Facebook basically at all. I go on there every once in a while and upload and say hey, I've got a new video over on YouTube, go watch it there kind of thing. But that's about it because I don't like Facebook. So I don't want to spend any time on there. Yeah. I realize that I could be doing things over there that I might not be able to do on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, but I don't like it. I personally don't like the platform, so I'm not going to use it. I think the only time that you should really feel pressure to use all the platforms is if your sole purpose is to grow that as a business. Then by ignoring certain platforms, you're taking away possibilities. But in the same way, you are spreading yourself thin too. So the reason that I say it only makes sense if that's your sole purpose is to grow that as a business is because assuming that if you're trying to grow it as a business, you have the time to try and grow it as a business. Right. If I had more than 1 day a week to work on my videos, maybe I'd do more on TikTok or something like that. I started a TikTok account.
Have you?
Yeah, I put up a couple of videos that were just kind of nothingness. Yeah. And then I recognized pretty quickly that okay, it's fun. I see the appeal. Not for me. Moving on.
Right.
Right. I'm not gonna force myself.
You're not gonna force the.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you can. And again, if you're trying to grow it as a business, there might be some value in trying to kind of force that a little bit, in that you can kind of spread out your influence and try and even usher people to other stuff. Yeah. Using, let's say, IGTV that have snippets of your YouTube videos and then say watch the whole video on YouTube and then kick people over to YouTube kind of thing. But doing specific content for each platform only really makes sense if you have the time to do it. And I don't know a lot of people that do, if that's a side thing, know? And that's how most content creators start is it's their side thing.
It is. Yeah.
So I think really it makes a lot of sense to try and build up on one, maybe two platforms. I really like the YouTube Instagram combo. Yeah. Especially for videographers and photographers, because you've got obviously YouTube is video, photos go on Instagram. Totally. That's the way that it works. And then stories are perfect for little promo-y stuff and here's behind the scenes. There's it's almost a perfect little triangle of where all the little bits and pieces go, and then you're covered. Yeah. And YouTube hasn't really figured out the stories thing yet. Yeah. Exactly. They have them, but they're bad. Yeah. They don't work as well as Instagram does. But.
Totally. No, I like that. One other thing I was going to ask you is, do you have any, I guess, rituals or things that you do on a daily as just as a human being, just as being you? Is there something that you do every single day to kind of get your day started, or maybe you're ending your day? And for example, one of my good friends, Raj, he owns a bunch of clinics here in the city, a very successful entrepreneur. He says that every night he'll watch brainless television, has popcorn, chills, does his thing, watch brainless television, just kind of shut his mind off and kind of decompress. Yeah. That's his way of decompressing. Yeah. And for you as being an entrepreneur, but also a creator, doing so many different things.
Yeah.
Do you have something that you kind of do?
I do. I mean, I do that. Like
Yeah.
Megan and I watch TV and stuff when we're, end of the day, watch an episode or a movie or something like that. That's kind of a ritual, if you will. And then I think mornings are kind of my ritual, I guess. Like I wake up, I make my oatmeal with a scoop of protein powder and a scoop of peanut butter in it every morning. And then I make my coffee, and I have like.
What time do you wake up? You mind me asking?
5:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's usually I'm up nice and early. Yeah. And I make AeroPress coffee. I have either AeroPress or I have a Chemex that I make. So I kind of make like fancy types of coffee.
Nice.
And like I like the process of that. It's very like therapeutic. And so like it takes a little bit longer than just like hitting the button on the drip machine kind of thing, and you're like a little bit more involved in the process. And so I'm kind of just chilling and that kind of thing, and then I grab my coffee and my oatmeal, and I go over and I like watch a YouTube video of like, just go to my subscription feed or whatever, and whoever's posted a new video, like I go and watch something there. And then after that point, that's like kind of when usually like editing or whatever starts in the morning.
Nice. And how does, does fitness play a role in your life at all?
It should.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, it does.
I know for a lot of entrepreneurs and people that are creatives, they also like to keep themselves fit, and a lot of the ones I know anyway.
Yeah, so. When I actually, if you go digging on my channel, there's a video called "How I Lost 80 Pounds." And so fitness did play a huge role in my life for quite a while, and both Megan and I kind of at the same time we decided that we wanted to make a change in the health in our lives, and at the same time we both got online trainers and started doing some pretty heavy like rearranging of our diets and that kind of stuff, and we both lost a pile of weight, and we're like, it was something that we did together, which was really awesome.
Nice.
And there was like a connection that came because of that, which was really awesome, and it played a huge role in my videos too, because I was vlogging at the time, so it ended up being like a part of what I was doing at the time. I lost a pile of weight, got in the best shape of my life, and then things picked up in life, and that has come and gone since, and it's something that I like am getting back into as of like very recently. And then I did a bunch of like kind of more weightlifting. I got another online trainer for a while there that like was helping me with more kind of trying to bulk up and stuff, and so I go through these kinds of waves depending, but it's like
you don't have like a strict crazy routine. Like
I did when I was like in the process of losing all that weight. It was really strict and crazy. But
now, was that something that you, I guess you and Megan kind of decided, and were just like, okay, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna stick to it 3, 4, 5 times a week, whatever the routine was, and then no matter what, you kind of
it was high on the priority list.
And
what's happened now? There's that in the priority list. There's like marriage, work, YouTube, and then there's this funny line where like anything below the line isn't going to happen because you ran out of time, and the gym happens to like kind of
it's
float on that line, and it's like, so if the stuff at the top starts to take up a little bit more space, the gym gets pressed down beneath that. Yeah, I try and the goal is always to make it so that the nutrition is there first and then the gym kind of thing, because I know that the nutrition, if you ask any trainer or whatever, they'll tell you that your nutrition is as important, if not more important, than the actual exercise itself. So the goal is always to try and keep the nutrition number one and then the exercise. And also, actually, Megan and I were having a talk about this the other day. The nutrition is something that I'm going to have to do anyway. I don't have to go to the gym, but I do have to eat. So I might as well try and put something healthy in my body. And so that usually what happens is if I find myself slipping, the first thing I do is I say, okay, well, I got to get my nutrition back in check. And then once I get that back in check, then I can try and work in the gym. And the nice thing too is that they influence each other, because you don't, it's like buying a nice pair of sunglasses or something. You're more likely to take care of them because they cost a lot of money. Right. So like if I eat healthy, I don't want to waste that by not going to the gym. And if I'm going to the gym, I don't want to waste that by not eating healthy. Right. So they kind of influence it. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So, but yeah, the last year or so, since YouTube has picked up a lot, I've been finding that the gym has been slacking a
little borderline.
Yeah, gaining a little bit of weight. But I was also doing a lot of like heavy lifting and increasing my calories for a while there too. And then I think what happened is I actually got in an accident on this crazy contraption that I ride called a one wheel. And I hurt my ankle pretty bad, and I wasn't able to do a lot at the gym for a long time until like probably 2 weeks ago. I got hurt in June, and like I just finally am able to run again. So I just kind of started getting back to the gym, but I could have been doing something, but I decided to do nothing for some reason. You know, it's like I can't run, so I should be, doing upper body workouts or something like that. I'll just be the guy who skips leg day all the time or something. But I opted to put my efforts somewhere else. We just lost a camera.
Damn.
Battery exhausted.
All good. We still got one there.
We still got one.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a couple quick round, kind of rapid questions. Lightning round. So this is the lightning round for the second floor here.
Okay.
Favorite creator? Currently. Or of all time?
Oh, man.
Someone that you either have looked up to or you've seen and you admire their work, or someone that kind of pops in your head right away?
Becky and Chris / Matt Diavella.
I like that. Yeah. I like Matt Diavella. I haven't heard of Becky and Chris.
They're friends of mine, so I'm biased.
Nice. That's awesome. Favorite color?
Blue.
Okay. Favorite camera?
Sony A7 III.
Hey, okay. Okay. Favorite piece of gear?
Aperture 120D Mark II.
Favorite song currently?
Into the Unknown by Panic at the Disco. It's like the big song from Frozen 2.
Nice, because you just saw it, right?
I saw Frozen 2 last night, and it's the first song that plays during the credits. But it's like, so during the movie, it's the Idina Menzel version, and then at the end, it's the Panic at the Disco version, and like
it's dope.
It's so good. Yeah,
nice.
It's crazy.
I'll have to listen to it.
Yeah.
Favorite movie, since we're on that topic?
Frozen. No.
Currently, not of all time, but just currently something maybe either recent or...
Yeah, Joker hit me hard. I think that was a killer.
Yeah, movie. I saw that. It was really good.
It was a really, really incredible. I've been watching a lot of like how it was made stuff too, and it's very, very cool.
Yeah. Favorite place you've been?
Banff.
Really?
Yeah.
Out of all the places, hey, Banff?
All the places, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a funny one too, because people, are always.
Yeah, I was gonna
go anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's like Canadian Rockies, like. Yeah. Alberta, right here.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, amazing. Well, that's it for that rapid round. I'm gonna kind of conclude it, Dunna, and one last question that we kind of ask all of our guests, and as far as the second floor goes, we kind of our philosophy and kind of theme is how to strive, how to survive and keep the good vibes in life and business, and kind of elevating to that second floor, if you will, in kind of all parts of your life and whatever that is. So to you, what is the second floor to you? What is that getting to that next level or striving to get to that next level?
It's inertia, I think, is like it's like if you ever find yourself stagnant, I feel like you're not elevated. But if you find yourself continually getting better and learning more and improving yourself and all that kind of stuff, I feel like that's when you're on that that next level. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's mostly almost like that saying of like it's in the process, or it's in the journey, not the destination.
Yeah.
I think it's like continuing on the journey, and like as soon as you stop, I feel like you've let yourself down, and you got to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
That's what it is for me anyway.
I like that, and obviously the learning you know, in the creative space is obviously super fulfilling for you.
Absolutely.
And trying to get to that, I guess, next level or second floor, if you will, in you know, technical aspect and just in life in general. I feel like for me, you're someone that I admire, and what you've done and what you your creative process, I just want to say I appreciate it.
Thanks,
and it's been cool to see you doing your thing, and I look forward to seeing what else you bring in the next coming years and what you do. So
nice, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing how you deal with the audio at the end of this.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, I appreciate you coming
thanks,
onto the
man.
second floor, man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.